Greetings, everybody, and welcome and thank you for joining us today for a webinar discussing a fully connected cold chain. Looks like a bunch of people have come in through the lobby, so we're going to introduce this thing and let everybody trickle in. So, this webinar is going to be focused on this connected cold chain, right? That's going to be the topic today, and we've assembled a wonderful cast of team members from Burris Logistics and one of our brands, Trinity Logistics. Now, webinars are kind of a new territory for us with self-production here. So, just take the chance to say thank you all very much for joining us. It's exciting. We're looking to bring more of these to you. And the goal with this webinar, and honestly, any future webinar, is to have a conversation with you, our peers, our partners, so that we can all be well-informed and educated on topics that we choose to discuss. I, for one, I really wish this was in person. I miss trade shows. We miss traveling. We wish we could do this as a fireside chat, but for now, Zoom is going to have to do. So the real big point here is hopefully you find this to be engaging and we have a great discussion. And of course, we're going to invite all of you to engage with us and a little bit more on that later. So a little bit of background. So when Burris bought Trinity Logistics in 2019, we really looked at it as an opportunity to expand our service offering in that freight world. Now, most people know Burris Logistics. Our bread and butter has always been temperature controlled storage, retail distribution, redistribution, and we also did have a freight offering. But honestly, to be, one partner, many solutions, we look to Trinity to expand our freight potential. And really, Trinity closes the loop on that. Now, they've got experts in-house that are experts in all modes of transportation, many different industries, whether it be intermodal or heavy haul or chemical or construction. And really, this webinar, we're going to focus on the cold chain and how Burris assets and warehouses pairs perfectly with what is a network of over 70,000 independent carriers via Trinity. And furthermore, I think the point that we want to make here is, as you can see, we've got some experts on hand, and it's really about a team with a lot of experience, and really they know about potential pitfalls. And as a result, we've created process and different services to make sure that ultimately we get it right the first time. So really excited to bring this to everybody there. And before I introduce this team of experts, let's go over a couple housekeeping items. As we said, this Zoom technology is somewhat new to us, so we just want to make sure that everybody is up to speed on what we're doing here. And first and foremost, we're going to be recording this. Now, the beauty of that is that we can edit it afterwards and present it to you, and we're going to do that. We're going to put this on burrislogistics.com, and we're going to put this on trinitylogistics.com as well. So if you have to bow out early, or if you want to share this with somebody else in the future, we're going to present this back to you online. Of course, as I mentioned, we encourage all of you to ask questions. That's going to be a big part of engaging with us here. And so if you take a look below on your Zoom desktop there, you're going to see a chat or a Q&A function. Go ahead and put a question in that. Now, we'll see that on this end, and we'll make sure that we get to as many as possible. And again, if we don't get to them all, we're going to copy them, we're going to answer them later, and we're going to put them online and address those questions for you. If you got to this webinar, it means that you probably got a newsletter from Burris Logistics. And really, we just want to say this. Our plan is not to send you spam. It is not to bombard you with content every day. However, we would love to continue to create educational content, whether it be webinars, white papers, case studies, podcasts, all of these events we do have planned, and this is how we want to present it to you. So if you get an opportunity, look back in those options that we presented you in the email. Check on the things that you're interested in, and we'll be able to curate that message to you. Again, we're not going to spam you. So without further ado, I don't even remember if I introduced myself or not, but I'm Bobby Bailey. I'm the Vice President of Marketing with Burris Logistics, and today I'm going to play moderator. But I think what's most important is that I introduce you to our experts. So the panel in front of you consists of Nick Falk. He's our VP of Business Development at Burris Logistics. We have Mark Peterson, Senior VP of Business Development at Trinity, and we have Shearer, Senior Sales Executive at Trinity. Gentlemen, welcome to our webinar.
Thanks, Bobby.
Hey, thanks, Bob.
Bobby, great to be here. Wait a minute, did you say this was live?
Oh yeah, I didn't tell you that. Yeah.
I thought you were going to be able to colorize or do something to make me look a lot younger. So.
No, you look fantastic, man. Yeah, we are live and rolling. So hey, all jokes aside, we practiced this, right? A little bit, and we had a lot of stuff to say. In fact, we kind of were joking like, well, let's get through part one before we can get to part two. But the point is got a lot of content. So what do you say we just jump right into it? You guys good with that?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So first topic and question is going to be for Nick. So Nick, when it comes to cold supply chain, can you give us a brief overview of the services that Burris offers that enables us to be experts in the field?
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, to those of you joining online, we really do appreciate you being here with us. I'll give you a little overview of Burris Logistics. So Burris Logistics has been around for about 95 years, so just started in this thing, offering a number of services. Really started out as a produce hauler from the southern portion of the Delmarva Peninsula up to Philadelphia. With that, grew and expanded into the frozen food business, and now really a full line integrated supply chain, specializing as a purpose-built driven food organization. A little bit more about the company in general. We have 14 sites up and down the East Coast and branching out into the Midwest. Within that, 4 different brands. Bobby obviously introduced Trinity Logistics, our 3PL partner, which really does an amazing job in providing transportation solutions and differentiated transportation solutions. Rolling then into our PRW group, which is public refrigerated warehousing. And that group focuses on manufacturers and the people who are really working on storing their product prior to going to a break of bulk site or a distribution center for further processing. Custom retail, focusing on really anything that has to do with delivering that product to the final mile, whether that's to a brick and mortar location or that's to the doorstep for a lot of our customers. Where we're doing e-commerce and direct-to-consumer products. And then Honor Foods, value-added redistributor, focusing in the Northeast. So amongst that, we count a little over 2,100 team members in our ranks. Also, one of the great meshes between Trinity and Burris. Burris Logistics operates about 250 tractors of our own and 450 trailers. Again, primarily focused on the East Coast and working our way to the Midwest.
Nice. And I think you brought up at the end there our fleet, right? A lot of partners were maybe first introduced to us because you do see our fleet moving up and down I-95 and other parts farther removed. Very recognizable component of Burris Logistics is that fleet. So, about that fleet, Nick, like how does Burris deploy our existing fleet of trucks and trailers to support our warehousing partners?
Yeah, our fleet is primarily operated in order to maintain customer service. We look at that and we say that we want to be differentiated by our customer service, and our trucks are the way that we can manage that. So we deploy our trucks mostly out of the domiciles that they're in order to really solve for the vital acts of delivering what the customer wants when they want it and right to that correct spot. So our trucks are largely dedicated fleet operations, and then focusing on how can we partner with Mark and Mo and the team in order to be able to fill some needs for additional customers, largely on the backhaul end, but then also on some head hauls in order to facilitate some of the existing freight business that we have for customers, either coming back into our buildings or to other places. And Mo and Mark and their team do a really nice job of helping us to fill those miles as well.
Nice. All right, so a big part of this is obviously, the combination here of Burris Logistics, dedicated fleet and assets, but of course with what Trinity does on the freight brokerage side. So, this question really for Mark here. So in 2019, when Burris added Trinity Logistics to our brand portfolio, we added multiple modes and other channels of which we could deliver freight to. So can you kind of give us a brief overview of what Trinity provides to our partners?
Absolutely. Well, as soon as Mo and I could stop doing somersaults and get back to work, it was a great news, great situation for everyone. But those of us that have spent time and focus on the cold chain, it was just a match made in heaven. So our services run the gamut. We specialize in truckload, both dry van and refrigerated, flatbed. Heavy haul, a huge piece of our business is heavy haul with drop deck, step deck, multi-axle business. And then intermodal, drayage, warehousing, LTL, expedited, which has been one of our faster growing modes, doing very well, and then international. And of course, all that ties together with our managed transportation offering, which has really grown and developed and kind of changed with the times. And so, right now we've got something that fits all sizes and not just complete outsource, not just the TMS. So lots of different options there.
Nice. And you mentioned, I think, to me, certain modes that sound incredibly complicated, right? You've got heavy haul, we've got, chemical and that industry, but ultimately what we're here to talk about today is the cold chain. And we're really talking about frozen and refrigerated freight. But from what you told me, Mo, that is actually incredibly complex and difficult to move. So can you kind of explain a little bit of why that is?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll provide you with a real quick visual. Avocados to ice cream. That is the range and spectrum of the temperatures you're dealing with. With your fresh produce, you're talking right around that 50+ degree mark. And then you get into ice cream, which is all the way down to -20. And then everything in between. Every product that you deal with will have a very specific temperature requirement that you need to adhere to. And one of the things that makes the temp controlled freight a little more challenging is maintaining that throughout the entire transit. You've got, at the end of the day, it's about product integrity. These products are ending up on the tables of families all over the country. So you want to make sure that you're getting them there within the required specs so that there's no issues, there's no safety potential. It's really a question of the compliance with these drivers, making sure that they're doing all the things that they need to do to make sure that this product arrives exactly the way it was meant to be, safely and, good for human consumption. So.
Is it hard to find a carrier who has that reefer capability?
It's not necessarily hard, but you want to be selective. I mean, there's a lot of carriers out there, and we have a robust vetting process. These carriers go through a pretty hard scrutiny with our carrier compliance group, making sure that they have all the right licensing, insurances, their safety records are clean. We want to make sure that these drivers who are ultimately representing Burris and Trinity to our customers are doing the best possible job in getting these products delivered as they were requested.
Nice. Yeah. So you kind of touched on a little bit of that, and that, leads me to my next question is that, to Burris, and Nick touched on this a bit too, right? Like our branded company hired, dedicated fleet of tractors and trailers really represents, customer service. And it's something that we try to manage on behalf of all of our partners. And, when you see a Burris truck show up, you have an understanding because you might have already met that driver before or seen that truck. So, with Trinity having access over 70,000 independent carriers, talk about the safety of the load and how does Trinity guarantee that with what is, I guess, not non-employee drivers? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but other examples of that?
I mean, these carriers are just as important to us as our customers. So we want to make sure that we're treating them the best way possible. We sell to them like we would a customer because, again, like I had mentioned earlier, they are really representing us, at the doorstep for a lot of these receivers and consignees. And, one of the things that we've done, like everyone within the industry, we've been evolving, especially from a technology standpoint. There's lots of new technology advances that allow us to trace and track, to keep, the temperatures monitored. If there are issues or if there's any type of a mechanical situation, we're aware of it right away. One of the most important services we provide our customers is that communication. As Mark and I can, speak to pretty heavily, we don't have a widget. We are the widget, and our communication skills and how we manage these customers' requests for freight safely, efficiently, and cost effectively. That's pretty much in a nutshell what we do and what we need to be great at. So the technology piece is something that definitely will continue to evolve and allows us to make sure that we're within compliance with everything.
Yeah. If I could jump in there, I think really what it breaks down to, Bobby, and the way that we have been successful is that we treat both sides truly as our partners, whether that's the shipper or that's the carrier that we partner with, and that starts with communication, as Mo said, and the bottom line is to bring value to both of those sides. So just like if we had a new customer or a potential customer, we go through a very exhaustive kind of discovery process to make sure that we're deploying the right solution, to make sure that we understand as much as we possibly can about their needs and desires. Same thing goes with a carrier. If you're, setting up carriers, you really need to go through that similar discovery process, and then take that tribal knowledge that you develop with that carrier and put it into our system, so that's visible across the network, and we can make similar decisions and about that. But again, the bottom line is bringing value, and if we can do that, we'll be successful.
Nice, right? Like it sounds like a summary of really what Trinity does differently, which is a lot of what Burris does differently, right? Is it sounds like we want to leverage our technology because we obviously know that is important and developing, but ultimately it is treating our team members, whether it be a Burris employee or a carrier, as a partner and not a customer or an independent contractor. So it sounds like that's kind of the approach there. So with that, we touched upon technology. And ultimately, this is going to be a question for Mark, Mo, and Nick, because we're going to look at both sides of it here. But what do we have in place with our technology programs? And ultimately, since we are talking about frozen and refrigerated food, and Mo touched on safety, so what do we have in place to ensure that safety of a load?
Well, one of the things we do from the Trinity side are use different technologies like MacroPoint, like ForeKites. These are up to the date. I mean, it's literally, you are able to ping our driver and know exactly where he is, what the status of the product is as far as the temperatures. It gives our customers a really, really instant access look into where their freight is, so they can stay on top of it, whether it's 1 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's just one piece of this technology puzzle that we get into. I know Nick can speak about some of the stuff that we do with our own fleet tractor trailers.
Yeah, I think the other piece here, and then part of the transition, is one of the things that differentiates Trinity and makes them a really great solution is that Trinity is a group that is also a group of operators. So having the ability to be operators and understanding that we run our own trucks and run our own fleet, we know how to operate the particular loads. So, Mo hit on some things from, avocados, ice cream. I really like that analogy. There are certain things that you just learn from having run the loads and operated the loads. So, whether that's picking up raw produce from the shed and understanding what temperatures those are at, and, not only what temperature, but what cycle you're able to run them off of, and how you track those, or understanding the differentiated needs of ice cream coming from the West Coast, and how you can't go over the mountains. You got to go around the mountains, and the shrinking and those things. Not that I know anything about ice cream, or may not have had a couple bowls of ice cream in my life, but just being able to be an operator and understand what those are, and the differentiator for us is that with Burris and Trinity, we are operators. We run that freight all day long, so we understand that. Getting back to a little bit of what you're talking about with technology, that's another way that we're actually able to help each other out and really understand that. So from a Burris standpoint, being able to track all of our trailers, going from kind of cell phone tracking, which was very popular and still in use today, and an effective tool, but moving into ELD tracking, which is likely the future and is what we're doing within our own fleet, and then also reefer tracking. And understanding that not only can we ping that tractor, we can ping that trailer. And actually, if you go into one of our offices, we've got on a big screen on the wall where each one of our assets are, and we're able to remotely, start and stop those units, reset those units, check temperatures on them, and make sure that we are doing all those things. You add in that, and there's a lot of complexities. With the driver shortage and everything that's been out there, man, that's a tough job. Anything that we can do to make a driver's life easier, and one of the things that we focused on from an operator standpoint, How do you make sure that those guys are respected? How do you make sure that they're well compensated? How do you make sure that their lives are easier? And technology has really helped us to do that, everywhere from our pre-trip inspection forms, making sure that we're taking care of our equipment as best we can, then going down to how can we eliminate obstacles for them while they're on the road. And I think having those transparent dialogues, and Mark and Mo and I talk extensively every week on it, is just being able to make sure that we're putting the best possible solution out there for our customer. Anthony McGalley, who's on our team, they really likened it to a win-win-win situation. And if you don't create a win-win-win situation for the 3PL, for the customer, and for the carrier, you're not creating and facilitating long-term relationships. You're being transactional. And if you're a win-win-win, you're going to be around and stand the test of time, and you're going to grow and expand your business. And that's how Burris and Trinity are really a differentiated solution in the cold chain space in particular.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember, and we have incredible technology teams, and really fortunate to have some of the products that they're developing, but it's still a people business, and ultimately technology is a tool that our people are using to bring solutions to other people. So we try to stay away from technology just for technology's sake, and it's easy to get caught up in the buzz, but ultimately it's making sure that we're, again, bringing value to our own team members and to our partners.
Right. Yeah, we can't forget, right, that the terminology that we throw out there sometimes, supply chain, cold chain, blockchain, it all sounds incredibly mechanical and technological. But of course, in between each of those stops along the supply chain is a very well-trained, experienced team of people that ultimately allow that technology to work for our partners. And at Burris, we have similar technology from the warehousing component. So, question for you, Nick, is can you talk about a little bit outside of just the fleet management side of it, or the transportation management? What are we doing within our warehouses that are kind of helping to secure that cold chain that we keep talking about?
Yeah, so I think there's a number of things. A couple of our focuses right now are making sure that we are providing freshness and clarity and visibility for everything that we see, right? So within that, the HMIs that are managing our buildings and the refrigeration systems, providing us real-time visibility, real-time monitoring. Any differentiation from set points are recorded. Not only being able to get that to people who can make meaningful decisions on it real time, but also being able to monitor that and have secondary and even tertiary backups for any sort of temperature control issues. If you add that in from a product integrity standpoint, one of the cool things that Burris is able to do is really handle everything from manufacturer to transportation to warehousing, and then transportation to end user or to another end user. So one of the key things that we've been able to develop over the last couple of years is technology related to our supply chain portal. And Mark and Mo can give a little bit more information on a really cool portal that they've got over at Trinity that provide customers and shippers that real-time visibility. But what we're focused on is how can we create a demand planning tool as well as visibility throughout the supply chain with our supply chain portal. Within that, being able to create widgets that help out, and I used your widget word again, sorry about that, but I think I got to pay a quarter every time I use it.
I'm keeping track. I got my little ticker right here.
I know. But what we've been able to create is demand planning that can show from point of manufacture, and then if we're doing the transportation, the en-route transportation, plus then I'm able to monitor and measure my demand and reorder and buy through our system. We do have an awesome system that enables you to do that. But some of the widgets, another quarter from Mo, that we can do, including a produce inspection tool. So we created a produce inspection tool for customers that allows them to document and clearly document the status of any produce items that come in, be able to view those, download that information, send that information directly off to the buyer or whomever we're purchasing that product from, and understand what do you actually have on your hand. Now, if you're in the produce game, if you're in the cold chain game, you do know that there are different types of produce, right? I find a great irony. I live in Florida, and I go to the farmer's market here in town. And some of the products that are there, you're going, yeah, that's fresh produce grown in Florida. Well, not when it's in the middle of the summer and it's 95 degrees and humid all the time, right? So that product is in fact bought from something like the Tampa produce market, brought back over and sold at the farmers market. Likely that produce that you're getting was rejected at a distributor like a Burris Logistics and then sold on a secondary market in order to do that. But our produce inspection tool gives our customers the ability to document that, make sure that they can clearly show the reason for a rejection, go back and candidly negotiate a price difference if they do take things that are maybe less than their standard. And then also for that company that is selling to them, being able to give them an idea of what they have. So I think as you look at it, we've really focused on end-to-end supply chain technology to be able to protect the physical goods themselves within the building, protect the sale outside of the building, and then also, one of the last things I'd like to touch on is to protect our environmental footprint. We've gone away from a lot of the ammonia-based refrigerant in our newest buildings, being able to provide not only a better safety environment for those people working within there, a greener solution for that product, and then also being able to really micro control, if you will, our temperatures within the building. Some of that's also trickled down in my little plug for environmental controls. Our design of our tractors and our trailers as well. We're really keen on making sure not only for the viability of the business and driving miles per gallon, but also for the environment out there. So the food that Mo said is coming to feed your kids, my kids, all of those. We also need to protect the environment that they're growing up in as well. So keenly focused on making sure that our environmental impact is as light as it can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mo and Mark, you guys on the Trinity side of things, obviously we have another portal, if you will. Can you guys talk to that technology a little bit more?
Yeah, I can take that one. So, going back to what Mark had said earlier, though, we're still very people centric. So we've never lost our, contact direct with our customers and our carriers. But what we have done is created a portal that makes it easier for the information that we're sharing to be accessed by our customers. We set up a specific portal login for each of our customers that choose to use it. The portal allows them instant access. They can trace their loads without having to reach out. Again, if it's the middle of the night and you had a panic attack about whether or not this load was going to arrive on time, you can go in and see exactly where the driver is through all the updates that are automatically updated within the portal. It then gives you a lot of great, I'll call it back-end access as far as your invoices, any billing questions. You can see the entire breakdown of what each load cost you, lumper fees, if there was a pallet exchange, any additional accessorials that might come up. And it really allows our customers to kind of manage that piece of the business at their own time and at their own speed. Obviously, we're always going to be there and available to them, but the portal is just one more step in evolving that kind of platinum level customer service that we like to kind of, distinguish ourselves from the rest of the industry. So it was a big step forward, and it's shown a lot of really good positive feedback from the folks that are using it right now.
Yeah, it's certainly something that's a living, breathing, thing that we're constantly developing. I think it also is fitting a need to take the place of, somebody that maybe wants access to get their information to track, but doesn't need their own TMS, or is not interested in any kind of full-blown managed transportation option. This is kind of that next step. And obviously we love to talk, in person or over the phone to our customers. And that's one thing I also wanted to mention, that one of the things that has put us in a great spot is that Trinity was really prepared, as was Burris, for the pandemic, like when it hit. So going virtual very quickly was something that we were able to accomplish because of a lot of hard work by our team ahead of time, thinking that, hey, what happens when this, in the past it was a polar vortex or something like that. We didn't anticipate, the extended stay away from the office, but it's just one more way that we can make that experience better for our customers.
Thanks, Mark. I'm going to call an audible here
Hey,
because I've got a question coming through to the panelists that kind of relates to that. Oh, Nick.
so hold on. So speaking of Mark's ability to go virtual, I did read from Liz Bolt in the chat section here. So let me address the ice cream issue.
I saw that one. I saw that one too.
I know, and it's awesome.
I had this visual of a young Nick Falk looking at the ice cream with his mom and going, "Where'd that come from, Mom?" And that's what I want to do.
All right, ready?
Everybody has ice cream.
So this is, I would say, younger Nick Falk, Mark, but certainly not young. I knew nothing about ice cream other than I really, really liked it. Prior to coming to work for Burris, I was a general manager of a building in Orlando, and we did premium brand distribution for Nestle, so Haagen-Dazs and the likes. And a lot of that's actually manufactured in Bakersfield, California, because obviously happy cows in California make happier ice cream, right? But so the story is, if you go over the mountains, ice cream actually has a piece of air built into it. So not quite as carbonated, like a carbonated beverage, there's air in it. So as you go from the expansion and contraction of going over the mountains, it will actually shrink. So little known fact, ice cream tubs of premium brands are shipped upside down with the opening, if you will, on the bottom. So as that expands and then contracts, nothing is more pun intended deflated to the customer to open up the top of that ice cream and see that you've now got a 3/4 of an inch of gap or an inch of gap there. You're saying, I got gypped out of my product, right? So as it goes up and it goes up over the mountains, it will expand and then will actually contract and lose some of that air and that awesome fluffiness of the ice cream as it comes back down over the mountain. So coming out of Bakersfield, California, you got to take a different route in order to avoid the expansion contraction and the perceived loss of volume that you would have on premium brand ice creams.
People just jumping in are thinking, was this the Food Channel or how they?
I know. Actually, Bobby,
it's
the answer to that is actually in one of those books on the shelf behind you.
All right, gotcha. Well, I haven't gotten there yet. Maybe it's a bad time to admit that I microwave my ice cream. I don't know if this is the right crowd or not, but we'll move on. So as you can tell, that question was staring us in the face as panelists. I think we all were itching to answer it, and now we all know. So that is
Well, for the record, you can tell by the backgrounds, I've been in my bunker now since March. I haven't had ice cream for almost a year now, and I can't wait to get the fluffiness back again from going around the mountains.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, great. So the next question here that we're looking for is, other than the fluffiness of your ice cream, what are some trends that we're currently seeing in this cold supply chain? I think Mark, you wanted to go first.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I mean, obviously, right now we're seeing a lot of move into, biotech and pharma. For obvious lots of reasons. And we're seeing that cold chain kind of expand out from just the traditional kind of, must be at this temperature. I think people are concerned about safety, and so you'll see it, kind of deployed into areas we might not have seen before. And that may be, Tylenol that sits on the shelf in a store or different things like that. So, and then, the other thing that we're seeing, and I'll quote Nick, is the democratization of technology. And so, we are able now to deploy, these really robust creative solutions without needing a $50 million spend or a $10 million spend. So, I think we're really excited that the small shipper and the mid-cap size shipper has got access to every bit of the service and technology that maybe a couple of years ago was reserved for the big players in the game. So kind of seeing that, as well as just the expertise across all kind of partners modes, whether that's on our carrier partners or our shipper partners, is people are just a lot smarter. I mean, students of the game. And I think that's one of the things, that is kind of one of the Trinity Burris secret sauce is our, devotion to the market and the industry, and really education. And we have an incredible education group where at a time when lots of other folks maybe have cut those departments and that section of it, and right down to our marketing group, Bobby and Brittany that make sure we're getting out, all of the latest news and details. And it's just fantastic because it just makes us stronger and better partners.
Nice. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I think another piece that we're seeing from a food industry standpoint, given the pandemic and the labor constraints and supply chain constraints, we're seeing a lot of SKU rationalization, if you will. People going back to what are the SKUs that make the most sense? What are the SKUs that are most profitable given the ability to service them? And I think, one of the latent outcomes of this will be we'll see a positive reduction in SKUs and people focusing on what it is that they do well from a product standpoint. I think the second piece of that is the bigs will continue to get big. You saw significant inroads made by, Amazon, Walmart, Target, BJ's Wholesale as as market leaders in technology-driven retail. We look at direct to consumer as running a kind of a three-legged stool, if you will. Big inroads made by all of those in the click and collect model. Where you're selecting online and picking up either at the curbside or largely in dedicated parking spots, if you will. Second piece of that is the shopping in the store and delivery to your door being the next one. And some key players have made some great movements there, whether it's, Target actually buying one of those services or really everybody offering them through a third party. And then the last has been the direct to the door model. Burris Logistics is one of the largest direct to consumer providers that are out there. And we've seen a lot of things happening there. I mean, there's a certain basket size that's necessary in order to support that model. But the one thing that we found is a lot of our entrepreneurs in the food space are really going heavily into that. And, the thing that I tell people all the time, we ask our business development team to really take a consultative, if I can say that word correctly, approach and really helping to teach those folks. We have some amazing product folks and we've got amazing entrepreneurs in that space. There will never, ever be a replacement for a great product. But we want to be able to take that piece of supply chain, whether that's all the way from manufacturer to storage to direct to the door distribution, take that off their plate and have them focus on what they really do well. There's been a lot of winners in there, primarily in the subscription-based model, just based upon the recurrence and the frequency and really driving down your customer acquisition costs. But we've seen a lot of that in the cold chain and think that will continue. Now you've also got different forces happening right now, right from a dry ice standpoint. You've got dry ice is largely the product of ethanol production byproducts. So fewer cars on the road, fewer jets flying, less ethanol production means less dry ice. And I don't know if you've heard about this other thing that's going on right now with a vaccine being shipped at incredibly low temperatures, eating up additional dry ice supply for a very good cause, which kind of makes that direct to consumer at the door a little bit more of a challenge, but certainly one that we're uniquely positioned with some of our arrangements to help customers get through.
Right. Well, I think like if, you are a e-commerce technology marketing company who's focused on product, now all of a sudden, Nick, you start mentioning things like dry ice, ethanol, we start thinking about packaging and even the tape and the direct to the door, fulfillment. All of a sudden my mind's going like, I'm not focused on my customers, I'm not focused on my product, and I'm not focused on marketing. So, you really highlight a really great point of, marketers really are depending on a company like Burris Logistics to allow them to focus on what they do well, because behind the curtain, that's what we do well. And that's a service that obviously, we're providing.
And Bobby, if I can, what this really speaks to is the sophistication of supply chains in general and what we're able to do at Burris with all of our, umbrella of companies. The perfect example is one of our bigger customers. You're taking a farm-raised salmon off the coast of South America, and delivering it to a family's table in Neosho, Missouri in less than 10 days as a fresh product, not frozen. That speaks to how sophisticated that we've taken things and the amazing things that we can do. I mean, if there's an issue or a question, we find the solution for it. It's one of the things that really amazes me every time I come to work, just how and what we can do with what we have and what we're going to look like in the future is just mind-blowing.
Excellent. Excellent. And we did have a question that kind of snuck in, and I think it really fits with, these trends that we are seeing in the cold supply chain. So, thank you for the question. MJ asks, we kind of touched upon COVID, right? And unfortunately, that is a trend that we are adapting to. So the question is what other changes do we anticipate due to COVID in regards to cold chain and how people or consumers are acquiring goods? Do we think that's going to push anything else, or are we kind of operating within that new norm?
I mean, I think it definitely is impacting the e-commerce side of business. People aren't going out. A lot of people are trying to avoid social contact, with the social distancing requirements. You see a lot of at-home deliveries now, and I'm sure Nick can speak to it even in greater detail. But I would suspect that you're going to see that trend to continue for a long time. It's just something that people have gotten used to, and to be quite honest, it's a service that I think they enjoy.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Mo. I think that there's going to be a certain percentage of that's not given back. If you look at it from a retailer standpoint, some of the key metrics that they measure is retail per square foot. And how do I continue to drive that as best as I can, even given the changes that's happening? I think that some of that sale will never come back to foot traffic in brick and mortar. But I think there is a certain desire of people to be out. I know I'm speaking for myself, working largely from the house now. There are points at which you just have to get out. Humans are at some level pack animals, and even introverts like myself have to have the ability to get out. So I believe that at some level there will be lost. I don't think it's lost market share. There's lost foot traffic, which for a retailer like a Target or a Walmart equates to lost sales of softline and other hardline goods that are picked up as kind of that secondary purchase when they go in for the grocery. So I think that'll manifest itself. But if you read the results, Target, Walmart, Amazon, they're doing just fine. I think that the bigger thing that's going to happen within the cold chain, and this is just from my end, we with Honor Foods, we see a lot of that institutional distribution, as well as distribution to smaller food service providers, continuing to be extremely light. If you look at just where we are in the calendar, different approaches and different views on COVID and how people are seeing that differently, and just social interactions being different. I suspect we're going to see a little bit longer of a curve in terms of that food service distribution play coming back. I think where players in that space are going to be uniquely capable of winning are those folks who are well capitalized and can take advantage of some opportunity type buys. Little known fact in North America that there was a French fry shortage. So while we're able to right now take opportunity buys from places as French fry eating is down, imagine that French fry eating is down right now because people aren't going out as much. There's actually a little bit of an increase in supply of those available. So well-capitalized companies like Burris can take advantage of opportunity buys and then be able to be there for the future. But I think that in terms of trend, I think we're going to see a lot longer tail to the food service play being slow. But I think in terms of overall cold chain with the amount of freight that's out there, I'm not too worried about that. But I think the big hit's going to be the food service industry still.
Hey,
even beyond
12 months in a row in a house with young kids, Nick, what do you want to leave the house for, man?
What do I want to leave the house for? It's either me or them.
Apparently I have 3 kids and 3 dogs. Who knew?
Yeah. And apparently their mother likes them more than she likes me.
Nice. Well, you kind of bring up a really interesting point too, and I think with what we've seen with COVID too, whether it be trust in who you can interact with, or trust in that safety measures have been provided, right? That's the beauty of this partnership. So outside the increase in demand and the increase in capacity, right? Like you said, Amazon's still very busy. Grocery store parking lots are incredibly busy. When it comes down to it, I think what we're looking for are people, whether it be in our own social circles or supply chain, that we can trust. And that's where the partnership mentality comes in, because we know that we're kind of facing a bit of a change in an uphill battle. You have to have trust in place to know that you can invite, whether it be companies or people, into your inner circle and still have trust in place. So
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
That trust part of it is so crucial on the cold chain. I mean, it's important in anything we do, but just much more so. We have an obligation to be honest and to be truthful, regardless of the situation. Again, we hope and we strive to make sure that's defect free and error free. But when there are problems, you have to be straight, true, and honest with your partners. And I think that's what's been our secret sauce and continues to help us, is having those difficult but truthful conversations when they're needed.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we've discussed both the asset-based transportation, the non-asset side of it, the technology and everything in between. But when we really think about, the beauty of one partner, many solutions, and combining those two, what is the benefit of that?
I'll jump out there. I think we are in a bit of a unique situation because we had really great offerings come together. So you see, it's not a really good brokerage that decides to run some trucks. It's, a really great fleet and a really great cold storage infrastructure that partnered with a really great brokerage, 3PL, that's creative and always looking to augment. So what that does is it builds your umbrella or your net of protection, and gives you just so many more options and the skill set to do it at a very high level.
Yeah, I agree. That level of expertise across the board in each of the segments is really, from a sales perspective, from where I sit, I feel like I'm able to truly offer that complete spectrum of, we are your one-stop service, everything, warehousing. If there's a good fit for our fleet, the services we offer from every mode possible here at Trinity, it makes us a pretty formidable, supply chain, cold chain supply company. So, back to what Mark said, I think it's just being able to cover that complete spectrum of whatever your needs are. We're going to find a solution for it. And I can say that with absolute confidence.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of summarize some of those things that Mo and Mark said is, give folks the opportunity to work on what they're really good at. We feel like we're pretty good in this space. Bobby, you mentioned earlier, always leaning towards the market. But you mentioned earlier, if I'm one of the entrepreneurs there, I really want to do what I'm good at. I don't, that's human nature, right? And where you can provide a partner who can simplify your life, remove friction from it, and is good at what they do, and is fully and truly vested in what you want to accomplish, that's a win for everybody. So, I think as you look at it, being able to offer, and there are so many cool examples of this, in fact, last week we worked together with Mo on one of them. Actually, that partner he talked about earlier, from stuff from South America to Miami up to the extreme Northeast. It touches a large portion of Trinity, and then touches a Burris truck, and then it goes out to a final end user, right? That's what we're good at, and allow them to be really good at making a fantastic product. So I think that's where the benefit really is. I was talking to a retailer who we are working with now, and talking to him earlier this week, and he said, I just want to remove the friction, because there's friction with the warehousing company, there's friction with the transportation final mile, there's friction on the way in. Like, you give us the opportunity to remove that friction, and just having one person to hold accountable is a benefit for the customer.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Well, so, just a quick time check, we're about 15 minutes into it, and thank you guys for all of the amazing information so far. I'll throw this out there. We're going to keep this going because we do have a few other topics that we want to cover. Again, just a reminder for those that do have to drop off, not you panelists, unless you got to disappear at 2 to eat some ice cream. I don't know what the plans are.
It's fluffy.
However, again, we're going to continue to try to get to as many questions as possible. And just a reminder, we will be providing this. So let's keep it going. So here's a fun part, right? I think when we had this conversation, you guys were all very quick to admit some of the pitfalls or mistakes that we've made along the way, or some of the challenges that we're presented with that really lends to our expertise. So can you guys all share some of these challenges or lessons that you have learned along the way in your journey? No first volunteers?
Yeah, let's see. This is prime time, correct? So we'll have to adjust a little bit, but so that, we talked about technology and the use, and not too long ago, we were looking at the ability to see a driver from pickup, all the way through, every mile of the way. So we were had a large customer we were going to show that new functionality to, and it was a load going from LA to Chicago, and it just happened that the timing of, okay, we're going to open it up, show you where he's at, and watched him pull right into the MGM Grand and then sit there for the rest of our meeting with the customer. So obviously we should have taken that extra step to say, look, don't stop and put it on red on your way to Chicago.
A good one. How about you, Mo?
So, one of the things I think that it's a reality that we have to deal with, I think, a lot of people have seen the movie Goodfellas. In the very beginning, you see where Henry and his crew are grabbing that truck outside of a diner. That's not just Hollywood. That is a real, unfortunate, legitimate aspect that we have to stay in front of. Through my time, my long time here in transportation logistics, I've had, unfortunately, a few situations where, we've had organized crime kind of come in and snatch up whatever the load was, especially stuff that's really easy to move on the black market. A lot of your proteins, seafood, for example. It's amazing how quickly a truckload of shrimp can disappear in a city like Miami or Chicago, literally in a matter of hours. But it's a constant game of cat and mouse. Every time we take a step forward, these guys find a way to circumvent it. And, it's just one thing that we really pride ourselves here at Trinity. We're always trying to stay ahead of these guys that are trying to, create the next scam, whether it's for T-checks from the carrier side, or whether it's trying to get a hold of loads, by falsifying their identification. We take a huge amount of investment in trying to always be one step ahead. And it's unfortunately just something that everybody's gonna have to deal with. So, some of the stories I have involve loads of pork chops disappearing, and, somehow these guys end up showing up somewhere 2 cities away. So it's just another unique aspect of the industry in and of itself.
Nice. Thanks, Mo. Nick, got anything for us?
Yeah, I don't know that I have anything nearly as entertaining as that. Mark, what you really need to understand is that guy had another stop put on that truck without you knowing it. It completely had nothing to do with the roulette wheel.
He was delivering giveaway snow hats.
Yeah.
Nice. He wasn't looking for directions around the mountain.
No.
He was not. No.
Nice. Well, great. Well, so that delivers us to the Q&A, right? So this is hopefully everybody's favorite part. So we're going to take some questions that we have received via the old Q&A function. And Mark and Mo, I think this one probably for you two. We are looking for an update or any planned updates for the new carrier hub.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Of course, just like our shipper portal, our carrier portal is constantly going to be, enhanced and updated. I think with any kind of technology question, companies land on, do we buy it, build it, some combination. And I would say that Burris Trinity is equally comfortable kind of in both sides of that equation. And really we evaluate it based on, need to get it at speed. We want to get it to the market. But more than anything, we want it to be right. So We do have some enhancements coming up, but nothing right now at this point. The desire is to make sure that it's right, usable, truly a tool that somebody's going to be able to use to gain efficiency. As our top guy, Donnie Burris, says, we don't want to be the biggest, we just want to be the best. And if we focus on that and that customer value, the rest of the stuff sorts itself out.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think, like you said, I think the fear is that, with size and growth, some of that gets lost. And that's certainly something that we are trying to avoid, right? To continue to be the best, regardless of the scope of our business. So, reminder to everybody, please, jump in again and throw some questions in the Q&A. We have some time to get to it, and we've received quite a few. So we'll keep going down that list, but make sure you get your opportunity as well. So next question is, again, the size of our company, right? So how does a larger company like Burris Logistics pair with a small shipper, I think the fear is does something get lost when you have a small shipper and a large company?
I mean, I can jump in on that real quick. The size of the company, we take everyone's freight request, to heart. There's just because you're a small company, maybe you're just a mom and pop operation that's just getting up on their feet. We provide the same services, the same tracking and tracing that we would someone that we're doing, 4,000 loads a month with. At the end of the day, there's a team assigned to that freight, and the eyes and the hands-on is the same for that 5 pallet move as it would be for, someone's 30 tractor trailer loads a week. So it's one thing we do take pride. At the end of the day, one of our goals is to make that customer feel like their freight is the most important freight that we deal with. And that's something that we're very genuine about.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about it earlier, but the ability to deploy those solutions and that technology, regardless of kind of required spend to make the math work. But if you look at our customer portfolio, we're very heavily tilted toward the small cap customer. So we certainly have the capability to hit a Fortune 100, 500 company, and we have several. But the lion's share of our touch points are with small to medium-sized shippers.
Yeah, maybe you bring it full circle, Bobby. I think that as we look at it, the solutions that we provide and have built out are very scalable. Our tagline, one partner, many solutions. We offer everything within the supply chain. So as you're ready to come in, if you're picking and choosing, or you want the whole gamut to run, as we look at it, we could support you as you're ready to grow. One of the things that we've said in the past is that we still feel like we're a small company in a lot of ways. Headquartered in a small town, a lot of those values still continue to permeate through the organization. So as you're ready to grow, we're ready to grow with you, and we still operate under that mindset of always doing the right thing and being very entrepreneurial and in spirit as well. So I think that's really why it's important for us to make sure that we are taking care of the small companies as well.
Right. Like some of the fear there is, right, you've got a large company and a small shipper. Does the customer service aspect of that partnership go away? And as you guys all very eloquently put, the answer is no, right? So that's very important. So, on the other side of it, another question that came in is more a positive attribute of being a large company. And that question is how does being a large company help when there are disruptions in the supply chain? I don't know if anybody wants to.
Well, I mean, back to our earlier conversation about when we combined the fleet aspects of Burris with the brokerage of Trinity, we're able to pivot quite quickly. I've had multiple situations where, unfortunately, we've had one of our brokered carriers drop off, and it just so happens it's right in the same path of one of our Burris trucks that we would maybe normally just deadhead back. Lo and behold, that becomes another asset for us that we're able to go ahead and utilize. So I think what it does, it allows us to have a lot more opportunities for solutions and more unique solutions that maybe we didn't have when we were standalone companies and organizations. The warehousing aspect, there'll be situations where just for a temporary hold, if we need, 10 pallet spaces to get this product because the delivery didn't happen and we had to get it off the driver's truck, We just need to keep it somewhere. Well, if it's near one of our locations, there's the possibility, hey, rather than have to go hunt and find somebody, just take it to our warehouse, hold it there, and then have our Burris fleet redeliver it for us the next day. So, the ability to pivot when situations arise has definitely taken a huge step up with the acquisition of Trinity into the Burris family of companies.
I think likewise, that works in the opposite direction as well. So there's been a number of situations over the last year, particularly as we saw COVID. We work with a number of large retailers, and their volumes have been up. At the peak, I want to say it was about 35% up. And in order to do that, our fixed assets can only carry so much capacity. So Trinity provides that excess and surge capacity in order to be able to make sure that we are meeting the expectations of the warehousing customers as well. We've got a lot of experience doing that within the organization, within that team. And so I look at that, and the synergy that's provided there is fantastic, and really allows us to make sure that we are meeting our commitments to the customers that we're serving.
Yeah, I think kind of the depth and breadth and the financial solvency of being a big, strong company, and being able to invest in things that allow us to go virtual. I'll go back to that example of thank goodness we didn't, we were able not to miss a beat, and we were able to keep our people safe and let them work from home. And all that takes investment and preparation. And I think that's a huge advantage to a bigger company that can afford to do those things and still hit their numbers and everything else. So it's a huge benefit.
Fantastic. So we did get a question too, and I think we've been kind of piecing that together with some of the answers and some of the different topics that we've been touching on. But this one is kind of a little bit more specific. So have you seen any cold chain processes or technology change as a result of either specific client requests and or industry change?
I mean, yeah, one of the driving factors behind us creating that customer portal here at Trinity was customer requests for that, better transparency. They wanted to be able to have, 24/7 access to tracking and tracing, to invoicing, to these other aspects. So that was the main driving factor to us creating that customer portal and really putting a lot of investment and a lot of resources into it.
Excellent. Gentlemen,
Yeah, and I think that, we've seen, changes that are driven by our customers and sharing those. Nick mentioned the changes in how the chemicals and things that we use on our refrigeration process. That doesn't happen in a silo. That's, jointly shared with our large and with panels of customers to make sure we're taking that right approach for the environment and for our people.
Right. I think we've seen that too,
Bobby,
with direct to consumer, right, Nick? The packaging and direct to consumer. I mean, there's situations where packaging, I think we all admit, if we've ever subscribed to one of these services, sometimes the packaging seems incredibly excessive. I know my recycling bin gets really full when I have a delivery, but there's another side of it, which is the dry ice versus cold packs, as well as how do we keep the integrity of that product if in fact it goes beyond a 2-day shipping range, right? So that's just the one that I could think of. But Nick, it sounds like you had one.
Yeah, I'd just say that there's no secrets. I was a college football coach way back in the day, and we used to say that there's no secrets in football. And I've found that right now the availability of data is so great that there's no secrets in the business that we're in anymore. And anything that we may think is a secret is probably just because we've just discovered it. So as we look at it, everybody has access to it. Everybody almost has access to the playbook, right? But the difference is going to be the people, and I can hand that playbook out to whomever. They still have to go execute it, and that's where I think the differentiation is with Burris. So I would say, there were changes in technology. Yes, they absolutely has been. Mark said it earlier. There's going to be a democratization, or there already has been, of what those technologies are. That's just the nature of the beast, especially with the amount of money that's being invested in it. But how do you leverage those and combine them with the people to make sure that you're providing the service is going to be where we will continue to grow.
And along with the cold chain process is just creative solutions. We've seen, that bridge between reefer LTL and truckload quantities. And so some of our offices have done some amazingly creative things like LTL consolidation and just, again, kind of rethinking that supply chain to say, well, can we take something out of it? Can we be more efficient? And that's one of the beauties of the Burris Trinity partnership is having, again, the assets and being able to bring all that together is really, I think, unique. And it's been fun, and ultimately it helps, drive a lower, more efficient price point to our customer.
Yeah, I mean, even from a carrier side, we're creating new kind of unique solutions. Something that's relatively new is this idea of temp controlled expedited, where it's a smaller order, but it's time sensitive. It can't take the normal LTL channels. Well, now you've got Sprinter vans with a Thermo King unit on it that can fit 2 pallets, and they can drive just like you and I would a car, instead of taking 4 or 5 days following these traditional sailing schedules for these LTL guys. They're there the next day or even the same day, depending on how long of a ride it is. So I think as the demands and uniqueness of the industry continue to change and these requests keep evolving, we're going to find ways and solutions that are going to evolve with it. So
when we want our ice cream, we want it now.
Damn right. Ice cream, fluffy, on my desk.
We want it fluffy.
Want it fluffy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We've gone over time, and I really do appreciate all of those that could stay with us. So, first things first, let me just say thank you to Nick, Mark, and Mo for being a part of this today. I think it really lends itself to the shared expertise that we have across Burris and Trinity. So again, thank you all for being a part of this.
Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Well, a couple things to close things out. Again, we didn't get to all of the questions. I know I've got a couple lingering questions from Jack and Margarita. I just want to let you guys know that we will follow up with you directly. Please, if you do have any other questions, feel free to email marketing@burrislogistics.com, and we will add this to the presentation. Again, this will be featured online. So this will be on burrislogistics.com as well as trinitylogistics.com. So we'll follow up with you shortly with as much information as we can, as well as a copy of this recording. So that's it from Burris Logistics. I just want to say to all of our participants, thank you very much for being a part of this, and we look forward to bringing these to you more in the future. Have a great day, everybody.